Okay, so today we're diving into the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial, specifically day 31.
Right.
It just wrapped up with nearly 5 hours of pretty intense closing arguments from the prosecution.
Incredibly intense. Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack their central narrative,
Yeah.
pinpoint the key allegations, the evidence they focus on, and figure out what's coming next in this huge trial.
Well, a key thing the prosecution really hammered home was this idea, their assertion that Combs ran a, quote, criminal enterprise.
For 2 decades.
For 2 decades, yeah, using his fame, wealth, and power to basically act above the law. And they finished with this really powerful plea for accountability. They said, that ends now. It's time to find the defendant guilty. Strong stuff.
That language is incredibly strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
But how exactly did Assistant Attorney Christy Slavic manage to, weave together weeks and weeks of testimony into that narrative? What was the core argument?
Well, what's really insightful is seeing how they structured it. Slavic's goal was clearly to synthesize everything, all that testimony.
Right.
To present Combs not as someone involved in, separate bad acts, but as the leader of a criminal enterprise.
Okay, so more like an organized crime approach.
Exactly. It's a significant legal step, especially for such a high-profile figure. They're arguing this was a long-term systemic thing, not just isolated moments. And that ties directly into the federal charges,
Which are? Remind us.
Racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force or fraud, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Serious federal charges.
So this alleged criminal enterprise, it wasn't just a small thing. They painted it as quite sprawling.
Oh, absolutely. They described Combs overseeing this small army of employees. And the whole thing, according to the prosecution, relied on obedience by employees willing to do anything for him. They mentioned hundreds of racketeering acts.
Hundreds? Wow, like what specific?
Well, within that framework, they laid out some really disturbing specifics. Everything from forced drug procurement.
Right, I heard about that.
Yeah, a former aide, Paul, testified about buying stuff like 2C, that's pink cocaine for anyone unfamiliar, and other substances. Then there was the alleged kidnapping of his assistant, Capricorn Clark.
Kidnapping.
That's the allegation. And even the claim Combs was 100% behind Kid Cootie's car blowing up.
Seriously? They said he said it.
According to the testimony, he literally said he was going to blow up Kid Cootie's car.
Plus, allegations of bribery, too. It's a lot.
And of course, the sex trafficking allegations. Those must have been incredibly difficult to hear detailed.
Extremely. The prosecution described how Combs allegedly forced or coerced Cassie Ventura and another witness, just called Jane, into these things called freakocks or hotel nights, basically days-long sex marathons, often involving drugs, violence, and threats, threats of financial ruin or releasing compromising videos. Which leads us to the evidence they showed again, right? The hotel video.
Exactly. They represented that 2016 Intercontinental Hotel security footage, you know the one, showing Combs assaulting Cassie. And Slavic directly linked it, arguing it showed him knowingly using force and coercion to get Cassie back to that room where the escort was waiting.
And they argued that was sex trafficking.
That was her assertion, yes. That kind of visual evidence, it's incredibly stark. It can really land with the jury, anchoring both the emotional and legal points.
Were there other key pieces?
Definitely. Jane's text message was read out again. It's dark, sleazy, and makes me feel disgusted with myself. I feel it's the only reason you have me around. I mean, just devastating.
Wow.
And there were also allegations concerning another former assistant, Mia, that assaults against her constituted forced labor.
And how did Combs react during all this? It was 5 hours, after all.
Reports say he was mostly composed, scribbling notes, but he apparently looked away when that Cassie video was played. Shook his head during some audio messages. Little things, but the jury sees them, right?
Right. So we anticipate the defense strategy. They'll likely concede some domestic violence, but argue it's not federal racketeering or trafficking. Maybe that the women were willing participants.
That seems to be the expected path. But the prosecution preemptively countered that.
Yeah.
They flat out rejected the domestic violence label in this context. They insisted employees did repeatedly agree to commit crimes for him. And here's a key legal point they stressed.
Okay.
For a federal sex trafficking conviction, they only need to prove one instance of coercion, just one, if Combs knew the person was unwilling.
So the bar might be lower than people think for that specific charge?
Legally speaking, for that element, yes. They're trying to elevate these acts beyond how the defense might frame them.
Okay, so what happens now? What's the immediate next step?
All eyes are on tomorrow, June 27th. That's when the defense gets their turn with closing arguments.
Then the prosecution gets a rebuttal.
Exactly. Prosecution rebuts. Then Judge Arun Subramanian gives the jury instructions which are crucial, telling them how to apply the law to the facts they've heard.
And then deliberations.
Deliberations start likely tomorrow or maybe pushed to next Monday, June 30th. And remember, it has to be a unanimous verdict for a conviction.
Got it, unanimous. The prosecution's final words were pretty stark. It's time to hold him accountable. It's time for justice.
Definitely leaves you thinking.
It really does. This trial, whatever the outcome, could set a major precedent about accountability for powerful people. It really underscores that maybe no one, regardless of fame or money, is beyond the law's reach.
A crucial point.
So it's something for you, the listener, to think about. How might a verdict here, either way, actually reshape our expectations of accountability for the rich and famous going forward?
For the latest in celeb news, no AI fluff, no clickbait, subscribe now.